why does it become controversial? Because this is something that we see almost every year, not any other counselling, but the MBBS counselling becomes a controversy. Why so?
Approximately 20 lakh students, more than in fact 20 lakh students, they appear in the NEET examination. There are approximately 30 medical counselling committees in the India conducting parallelly the counselling in India. The structure and the missing factor in the uniformity, leads to the confusion. And when there is a confusion which is inevitable. See, I know that I'm an NRI, but I have to prove that I am NRI through the documents.
Sure.
If I would say yes, I'm an NRI, no one would believe. I won't get the seat in the NRI quota. I have to prove it with these certain documents. You will wonder that in some state there are 60 to 70% rejection in the NRI cases, and these rejections are because of the documentation error. This is like one of the very critical question for every parent, how to identify the right counselor. Sometimes parents unknowingly, mistakenly reach to those counselors who themselves have no expertise. They do not understand these state-specific rules, but they talk very loud about it.
The MBBS admissions for 2026 are going to begin very soon, and so is the counselling for the same. And this time we've seen a lot of changes that have happened in the counselling. Now, what are the changes? Why do we need MBBS counselling at all? To discuss this and more on this topic, I'm joined in by a special guest today, Mr. Amreek Singh. He's the founder of My Career, My Future, MCMF. Hello, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for giving us time.
Hello. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. So, first, I would like to tell our guests that, you've been in this counselling for almost 12 years now.
Yes.
So, how's the journey going so far? And then we can start with the real questions.
Very interesting question. See, journey so far is going fantastic. It's almost more than 12 years we are into this counselling. And this is basically a specialized counselling, a niche subject, and where parents need some experts. There's a strong requirement of an expert person who would able to explain them on many topics of the MBBS counselling. And so far, I believe we have helped almost more than 6,000 students.
Wow, fantastic.
During this journey of like 12 years. So thousands of students every year join us, right? So we are enjoying so far. And at the end of the day, it's very noble profession. You are guiding students, making their future.
Indeed.
Yeah, right. And parents are also giving us so much respect wherever we go. So so many things are there. So we feel so much happy and satisfied in the journey.
Okay, that's nice. Okay, so let's start with the first question,
please.
Which is, but obvious that, the MBBS counselling has always been in news.
Right.
Why is it so that, it is so complex and so talked about, and, people want to know more on MBBS and how it's going to happen, how do we do it, and, things like that?
Sure. See, ma'am, number one, why this is in the news? Because number one, the competition in this is massive. Approximately 20 lakh students, more than in fact 20 lakh students, they appear in the NEET examination. And problem is that we have extremely limited seats for them, right? 14-15 lakh students clear the NEET examination with a dream to become a doctor. Now we have only 1,30,000 seats for them in MBBS. So there is a huge demand and supply gap. So, and secondly, and look at from the other aspect as well. It's not only those 14-15 lakh students. There are 14-15 lakh families, who want to see their child to be a doctor.
Exactly.
Right. So when they see there are the last minute policy changes or technical errors are there which are trying to take away their child's dream. So of course it's but natural the parents will take stand. So they will make objections also. So they'll raise some questions also. So because of that high stake of this competition, so a small issue become a national headline. So this is the major reason behind this.
So that's because of the query that they come to you with, obviously they don't understand what needs to be done next. Having said that, why does it become controversial? Because this is something that we see almost every year, not any other counselling, but the MBBS counselling becomes a controversy. Why so?
Ma'am, actually its structure is altogether very different. So there is a missing factor that is called the unanimity, right? Or the formalization. So there are approximately 30 medical counseling committees in the India conducting parallelly the counseling in India along with the medical counseling committee, which is the parental body. Now, every state has its own rules, own policies, right? Then they have their own eligibility criteria as well for the other state students, for the NRI students, right? For example, let's talk about, there are some states in India which do not allow the other state students in their private medical college at all. There are some states which allow the other state students in the private medical colleges, but in the later round, say in second round or in third round, that's subject to the availability of seats. And then there are some states in India which allow the other state students in the private medical college from beginning, right? So the moment you change the state, the rule changes. So it is very important for parents or the students to understand the complexity and the understand the every state's rule deeply to avoid this kind of problem, right? So this the structure and the missing factor in the uniformity, leads to the confusion, and when there is a confusion which is inevitable, right? So controversy certainly will erupt.
Indeed. It just struck me. You missed out on the NRI quota. If we talk about that, is it that complex as well?
In fact, if you talk about the NRI quota, so I'm sorry I missed that. So NRI quota, in fact, is more complex than the regular counseling.
What makes you say that?
Now, there are different factors in that. Number one, for example, let's take from the seat availabilities point of view. When we talk about the seat availabilities, there are some states in India where there are NRI quota seats in the government medical colleges only.
Okay.
Then there are some states in India where there is NRI quota in their private medical colleges only. Then there are some states where there is NRI quota in the government and private medical colleges both. So then number one, so this is a variation. Second variation is on the process also. Process is also different. Second point is about the about the documentation part, the verification part. So there are the multiple layers of the verification round in many states. And last but not least, there are change in the sponsorship rules as well. Now, in some states, now it is very interesting. The first point which I raised, there is a missing factor which is unanimity. So there are some states in India which only allow the students who are NRI to be eligible for the NRI quota seats. Some states they allow parent or the sponsor or the relative to be as a sponsor in the NRI quota. I mean, so many variation at every point, at every factor make it more complex than the regular counseling. So,
Sure.
I mean, knowledge of the NRI quota or the state-specific rules and all these factors is very, very important. So that's how it is different.
So, Mr. Emric, I'm sure people now I know are why they're coming for the counseling, because, hearing from you, I am very confused. So, obviously, they would need
Right.
a lot of help to actually understand the quota structure and the NRI quota for that matter. So, what are the, most challenging factors in the NRI quota?
See, ma'am, though the every factor which I counted plays a very vital role in medical counseling, small error in any factor will lead to certainly a rejection. However, if you talk about the most challenging factor is to obtain the NRI eligibility.
Oh.
Right? So, I mean, number one, why I'm saying so, NRI eligibility, because number one, the documentation part is very critical in that.
So, just want to make it clear. So, when we say NRI eligibility, what does it exactly means? Just for the viewers to break it down.
Very, very good question. See, I know that I'm an NRI. So, but I have to prove that I am NRI through the documents.
Sure.
If I would say, yes, I'm an NRI, no one would believe. I won't get the seat in the NRI quota. I have to prove it with these certain documents.
So that's the NRI eligibility
That's
when
it.
we say.
And when I am successfully able to present those documents, then only I would achieve that NRI eligibility, right?
Okay.
Now, what happens? Usually, this is the physical verification round, where the parents and the students have to present the documentation in the complete form. Irony is, nowhere there's a complete defined list of the documents then which are asked over there.
Okay.
One point is this. Then there are some legal document also. You cannot add a word in that, or you can extract. No, you cannot extract a word from those formats, right? State to state, these formats are also changing, right? I mean, so and fee payments plans are also changing. So many points are there which are making it very complex, right? And then there are multiple layer of the document verification round, because there is always a risk of fake documentation part. So that's why the deep understanding of this process is very, very important. We often see the parents coming to us in the second round who got rejected in the first round. It's not because they were not eligible. It was because either their documentation had some errors, or there was lack of knowledge how those documents are to be presented, right? So it is not only that you are mere the NRI, but you have to take it by proving it.
Okay.
Now, for example, just I'm an advocate, so quoting you one practical example. For example, there is a court of 3 judges or court of 5 judges. So where you are presenting yourself, your case yourself, to prove yourself as an NRI, right? So presenting your case in such a manner that the person who's sitting, across should be convinced and should allow you NRI quotas.
Of course.
So that is very, very important. That's more crucial in this.
So does that mean that there's a possibility of a genuine NRI also getting rejected?
Certainly, as I said, that they also need to prove themselves as an NRI
Yes.
to avail the NRI quota benefit, right? So here I would add one more point here, that there is an advantage to the NRI students, because in NRI quota segment, the cutoff goes low. And at a very low score, they can get the admission in the India's top premium government medical colleges, private medical colleges, and the deemed universities. So looking at that, so when they present the documents, so because of the lack of knowledge, right, somewhere they miss the documentation part, there are always chances to make mistakes in the documentation, in the process, in the submission of those documents, right? So, and somewhere, I feel another factor is there, which is a poor guidance or not the right counselors support over there with them, which leads to the rejection. You will wonder that in some state there are 60 to 70% rejection in the NRI cases, and these rejections are because of the documentation error, or they were not meeting some specific requirement of the particular state. So it is not only that eligibility, it's not only that they are the NRIs.
That's what I was coming for. When he's proved his eligibility, he has all the documents. So what is the reason behind, the most common reason that they get rejected still?
There should be the accuracy in the document that is more important.
So when you talk about accuracy, what does accuracy mean for it?
Accuracy means, like, for example, there are some legal documents.
Okay.
So, okay, though I have plenty of examples with me, I'll quote you one example and won't take the name of that state.
Okay.
I was in that particular state during the time of the document verification round. So one parent, they came to me because I'm on YouTube also. They came to me and then they shared that their document got rejected. I asked them, what is the reason behind it? So then they said, then I asked them that, may I see your documents? So then they showed me their documents. The documents body, the text body was completely accurate, but the heading was wrong. So it should be affidavit instead of undertaking. The word affidavit was not there. Instead of affidavit, it was undertaking written on.
Oh, like you just said in the beginning of the podcast, that it has to be word to word.
Word to word, right? Now, because that word was interchanged, replaced, then the counseling committee members who were verifying those documents, they simply said, no, you go, we'll give you the chance, but you go and get them corrected. Now, those parents were from UAE. It was not possible for it. It was not possible for that parent to travel to UAE for that correction and get them attested again from UAE.
Obviously.
Right, in a single day, and there was only as one day for with them for document verification. I mean, so such kind of multiple instances are there, which lead to these kind of issues, and the 60% or the 70% rejections are there.
Oh, well, I'm curious, and I'm sure my viewers would be. So, what happened to that student after that? Did
Right.
he-
So I mean, because I was there for a very short period, I spoke to, I guided him. I said that you can only, what you can do is you can request to somebody senior over there that they can give you a chance with subject to resubmission of that particular document. I don't know what had happened to that particular case, but I tried to help that person.
So, you told about the reasons of rejection, but when we talk about the most common reasons, if you could just let us know about that too.
See, when we talk about the common reasons, see, students are mostly busy in their board examination, in their NEET preparation, and parents at the same time are busy in their jobs, in their businesses. So it is tough for those parents to deeply, dig out and do the research work. So somewhere they are finding some shortcuts. They are relying on social media channels, Instagrams, YouTube channels, some websites also. Unfortunately, what happens, ma'am, not every website is updated. Not every channel is talking rightly, right? There are many counselors also who are unable to interpret accurately the things or the rules. So when they are on the different channels, on the different websites, and in fact that make them more confused, right? That they confuse them more, and this tend to make them error, right? So in this MBBS counseling, so a small error is enough to take away the seat. So looking at that, number one, it is important to have the right guidance, right? And then only appear in the medical counseling, or you yourself do a great research, then only it will be wise to go for medical counseling.
So, do you support the reforms in the system to curb the role of the counselor? I'm sorry, it's a little blunt question to a counselor.
See, if you ask me personally, I'm very much in favor of reforms. Yeah, there should be reforms. Now, because see, 15 lakh students are when participating in a competition. So there should be idealistic approach over there. Now, when I'm talking about the idealistic, there are two approaches, idealistic approach and the realistic approach. When we look at the idealistic approach, all these 30 counseling committees which are conducting the counseling, there should be a common, they should be on the common platform. They should agree on the common points also. There should be a common agenda also. Timely the seat should be updated, so that students should get to know that how many seats are going to be available for them in the beginning of the counseling. All these points are very idealistic points. I'm very much in favor of the reforms. So when we talk about the realistic approach, it is not practically possible to bring all those 30 counseling committees into one common platform there, where they would be taking the common decision, framing the common rules and regulations for the students. So when this is realistically not possible, so there should be somebody to navigate the students from such awkward situation, some situation, right? So I mean, bridging the gap is required. So subject matter experts role is, I feel, in such conditions where the realistically it's not possible, to bring the reforms. So the role of one expert counselor is very, very important.
So you're saying that the role of a counselor is very vital, is it?
Yes, I see the counselor's role is very important, very vital. Let's understand from the example of a marathon,
Sure.
right, where so many participants are running. So there are some participants who had professional coaches, mentors who guided them the strategies to win the marathon, all right? And where there are some others also who are running on their own. So now, whose chances are better? Certainly those who are guided by some professional coaches, some mentors, so their chances are brighter
Of
than the
course.
others, right?
Of course.
Similarly, if you look at any sports, any sports where every star had a coach or mentor behind his success or her success, you know. So looking at that, I see the coach or the mentors or the genuine who's the subject matter expert. So that counselor's role is very, very vital.
So you mean hiring an expert is a safer bet all this while?
Certainly, it can be a safer bet, subject to this, because always there are the conditions involved. Subject to this, the counselor should be chosen very carefully.
Okay.
See, now so many people are there in the market offering their counseling services. So sometimes parents unknowingly, mistakenly reach to those counselors who themselves have no expertise. They are unable to interpret the counseling rules accurately. They do not understand the state-specific rules, but they talk very loud about it, right? So you have to be very sharp, very wise in selecting those counselors.
So let me come to this question then any which ways, because since you're here and you will break it down for our viewers who have this question कि कौन सी काउंसलर सबसे अच्छे होते हैं, genuine होते हैं, कैसे पहचाने? So how do they differentiate? How do they zero down on the best counselor?
Right.
So the do and don'ts to select the counselor.
Right. Very good question. I mean, this is like one of the very critical question for every parent, how to identify the right counselor. I'll try to give 3 points formula for all the parents, I mean, with which you can easily find out or you can reach to a good counselor.
That'll be great.
Number one, see, nowadays things are very open, very transparent, available on the many social media platforms, on the YouTube channels. First of all, check about the expertise of a counselor. See, now students are going for the medical, so I'll quote one example from the medical side. There are experts in medical field also. Some are gynecologists, some are dermatologists, ENT specialists, cardiologists. Now, you cannot go to a cardiologist for your skin-related issues.
Of course not. Of course.
Right? So, similarly, if you are going for NRI quota counseling, look for the person who have expertise in NRI quota. Right?
Obviously.
Not the other quotas, because the knowledge of the one quota cannot give you guarantee that he will give you a successful, guidance in the other quota.
Of course, that's where the subject matter expert
is required.
required.
So this point, number one, this point is very important. Second point is about the experience. Now, again, I'll quote you one example from the medical side. There is one cardiologist surgeon, for example. So he has done, say, 100 successful surgeries with him, So during that, how much experience he would have gained? How much challenges he would have faced? You will appreciate, right?
Obviously.
And on the other side, there is a cardiologist who have just started the practice with the 5 or 10 surgeries underhand.
So it's like, the real-time experience.
Real-time experience, right? I mean, so the person who is having more surgeries or who have done more counseling, who have done the most successful, the cases with him, certainly can guide you better. Can download the best knowledge of his to make your child's future, So, I mean, second point is about the experience. And then you can check this experience from the success stories. Now, coming to the point number 3, from the success stories, now here you have to be very wise when you are checking the success stories or the testimonial of any counselor on the YouTube or any other place. Number one is that look at that those success stories are related to which quota, whether it is matching your requirement or not. For example, if you are going for the NRI quota, where these students are coming from other countries to India for medical education. On the other hand, there are some like overseas admission where the students are going from India to outside to other countries for education, right? So you need to very patiently listen that success story or this testimonial. So the parents are talking about which category, whether are you falling in that same category or not. So because there are many counselors who mix up the things to confuse the parents so that they should not able to gauge it. All right. So one point is that. Secondly, how long that counselor is talking about that this NRI Quota counseling. How old are the success stories or the feedback stories of that counselor? Again, this will give you an idea how old and how experienced that counselor is. I mean, there are 2-3 factors. After that, what you can do, now you know that okay, these 3-4 counselors are there which you have jotted down. So then you can talk to them. You can fix up a call with them. So when you will talk to them, you would able to gauge their communication skills, because tomorrow they are going to associate with you where they will be interpreting. They have to interpret the legal rules, counseling rules, and then based on that they have to guide you. If their comm skills are not up to the mark, where they won't able to successfully interpret the things for you, how would they guide you accurately?
Obviously, makes sense.
Right? So all these points are very contributing factors to find a counselor. I believe after that parents would able to reach at least a good counselor, which I believe.
I'm sure. So with that, so Mr. Amrik, anything that you would like to say to our viewers who are watching and who are the students who are preparing for their admissions now in the coming year?
Sure. See, being a counselor, my message to the parents and to the students, number one, you have to be very patient. Right? You have to be very patient. This journey is very stressful journey. So you have to handle this with calmly and understand the competition is very intense because seats are very limited. All right. Everybody is fighting for those seats. In such a scenario, your expertise, your homework, your analysis of previous data, so that plays a vital role. So, and in case if you think that you can afford the counselor or the subject matter expert, it's always advisable to go with some subject matter expert who understands each and everything, because a small mistake may miss your child's future, may miss your child's MBBS seat. So looking at that, my suggestion to the parents, my advice to the parents is that don't compromise, because your child has done very hard work for last so many years. He has been studying and preparing for NEET, so his effort should not be wasted. So that's my message for the parents. And all the best for all the parents and students for 2026 medical counseling.
Right, Mr. Amrik, thank you for talking to us, and a huge thank you from the viewers, for that matter, for giving a right roadmap to the parents and obviously guiding the students who are going to be appearing for the the admissions and of course your counseling tips and whatever that you've told us and you've told the viewers are going to be very helpful.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So on that note, we wrap up this special podcast, and a very thank you to Mr. Amrik Singh, who is the founder of My Career, My Future. And I hope that this podcast will, and of course, in future also will be helpful to all the students who are preparing for this year and of course for the years to come for other students as well.